How does it help the GOP grow the majority to be talking about a motion to vacate instead of talking about the border or inflation or other issues that are better for the GOP? How does this motion to vacate help win back the majority or win a bigger majority?
I don't think it does. And I think all of my other Republican colleagues recognize this is a distraction from our mission. Again, the mission is to save the Republic. And the only way we can do that is if we grow the House majority, win the Senate, and win the White House. So we don't need any dissension right now.
So that is Mike Johnson saying that the right doesn't need dissension. Of course, the dissension that he's talking about would come in the form of Marjorie Greene throwing him out of the Capitol, basically. So I understand why he wouldn't want the dissension. I also think that from the Republicans' point of view, he's probably right. But he's not just saying let's not do this. He's trying to play up the positive relationship he has with Marjorie Greene, the woman who wants to eject him from Congress. Take a look.
She and I exchanged text messages even today. We're going to talk early next week. Marjorie's a friend. She's very frustrated about, for example, the last appropriations bills. Guess what? So am I. As we discussed, Trey, these are not the perfect pieces of legislation that you and I and Marjorie would draft if we had the ability to do it differently. But with the smallest margin in US history, we're sometimes going to get legislation that we don't like. And the Democrats know that when we don't all stand together with our razor thin majority, then they have a better negotiation position. And that's why we got some of the things we didn't like. Now, we fought like warrior poets to keep some of those Senate appropriations or some of those Senate earmarks out of the bill. And we were successful in getting a lot of the terrible stuff out. But a few of them made it through, and that's what Marjorie's upset about, and I am too. But I want to talk with her about reforming the budgeting and spending process going forward.
I love that Trey Gowdy didn't even respond to him dropping that Mike Johnson and Marjorie Greene fought like warrior poets. It was like Avengers Endgame standing against Thanos. My God. I mean, look, even the guy pretending, oh no, we're friends, man. We text every day. And when I get a notification that Marjorie has texted me, like a cold like sweat doesn't come over me, a shiver doesn't run up my spine. I like it. Stop for a second and think, what do you think text messages from Marjorie Greene are like? You see what her tweets are like. What do you think her private communication is like? That is some wild stuff. But Francesca, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, she is, you know, when like there's an ingrown hair, but like also there's a pimple on top of the ingrown hair. And then on top of that, just like eggs. I'm just trying to describe the grossest thing ever. That's the Republican Party. Like Marjorie Greene is a pimple on top of an ingrown hair, on top of just like a boil, on top, like they're all just each other's little white heads. And like, this is the whole point. I mean, what's interesting about Mike Johnson is he's admitting there's a razor thin majority, which there is, and let's hope to change that in November. But it also is so revelatory that even with this majority, they still can't do anything. And Marjorie Greene is, remember, mad that like they didn't defund the military because of woke. This is the wish list that they have, which should at once make us laugh because as if that will happen, but also make us incredibly scared if there is a Donald Trump presidency and if for some reason they win back the Senate, we're screwed. The House is not looking good for Republicans. A lot of them have resigned lately.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's just like, I don't like, John, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like it's becoming obvious. We talked about this on the show, I think last week, just how unserious they are about governing and how serious they are about their podcast brands.
So she's I think the ultimate example of that.
Yeah.
And in fact, that hypocrisy was made clear in her messaging about Speaker Johnson. Remember, warrior poets, totally happy, besties, really, we text all the time. That's what he's saying on shows. She's going on Twitter and saying things like, the only thing necessary for evil to triumph in the world is that good men do nothing. I will remind you that she's the one that wants Vladimir Putin to absolutely crush Ukraine. She's the one that runs cover for gun manufacturers in the wake of children being slaughtered by assault weapons. She is another one of the people who pretends to care about the stuff in her religious books that she's never read, will never read, claiming to hold some sort of moral high ground when she works for the betterment of those who've already won economically. I'll just remind you of that. But she goes on to Speaker Johnson and says, Speaker Johnson completely surrendered all power we had in the House to stop horrendous crimes like child rape by illegals when he fully funded Biden's deadly open border without a fight. She was one of those who killed the border bill.
Yeah.
The right-wing border bill that would have helped lock down the border to stop those pedophile Guatemalans from coming in or whatever. She didn't care. Oh, she doesn't want kids to be raped by migrants or whatever. Someday. For now, I kind of like that the border's in chaos because it helps Trump. So I guess we can have like 9 months of child rape and then maybe we'll do something about it. Okay, but something necessary for evil, something good men.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.